Welcome. Thank you for being here. Lee gave me the title of this talk, and I liked it. I've had to take notes, and I don't have a teleprompter yet, so I'm going to look at my notes. It's called Breaking Free of Imaginary Gods and Demons, Ending the Superego's Power of Enslavement. So first, what does this have to do with waking up and being free? Because that's all I'm interested in. Everything else, if it doesn't support that, I have no interest in it. The way this supports that is through self-examination, through looking at ourselves to see what we haven't seen before. And one of the ways that we do that, the way actually, is to name it. If you can't name it, you can't see it. It's just part of the atmosphere. But if you can name it and make a distinction, then you can start to see what's been here that hasn't been named. And so in that way, we're going to start to examine the superego, which has been here all along, and generally runs unnoticed, runs in the background, and we just consider it reality. So what is a superego? The superego is a fact checker. It's a brilliant software upgrade. It's checking the patterns for deviance. Deviance means mutation. So if there's a mutation in the pattern, the superego is there to notice it, to fix it, to correct it, to point it out. So some mutations aren't harmful, and most mutations are. And so that's what the superego's job is, to check for that. And a good example that I like to use of a mutation that is benign is in the alphabet. We've never really considered, now here's a good thing, so we've always just called it the alphabet, without ever considering, where did that name come from? Why do we call it the alphabet? And if you just break it down, it's obvious. Alpha, bet. Alpha is the first letter of the Greek alpha, beta, gamma, and bet is the second letter of Hebrew, aleph, beth, gimel. So why do we call it that? Because these are the alphabets that came before ours. And a mutation that happened is in the letter C. So that in Greek it's alpha, beta, gamma, delta, A, B, G, D. In Hebrew it's aleph, beth, gimel, daled, A, B, G, D. And in the latest one, our version, it's A, B, C, D. That's a mutation. That's something that got put into the system as a mistake. But it's benign, it doesn't matter, it doesn't hurt us. And so we continue with it. So this is the job of the superego, is to notice these changes, to notice defects, to notice irregularities, and to point them out, to make them obvious so that we can do something about them. We see what's wrong so that we can fix it. Okay, the superego operates at different levels. On the most deepest, basic level is the organic superego that doesn't have a language. A good example of that, if you just right now consider, what would it be like to eat one of your family members, to eat another human being? If you're like most people in our culture, that would be revolting. It would be a feeling of revulsion, a feeling of disgust, a feeling of no good. That's the superego that's been incorporated deep into our psyche that keeps us from eating each other. It's very useful. Not everybody has it. Some cultures don't have it. Some cultures, you don't eat your family, but you can eat your enemy. And in cases of crisis, we find, you can eat other people. A great example is a wonderful movie of the soccer team in the Andes that has a plane crash, and they end up having to eat some of the dead crew members. At first, they revolt. They don't want to do it. They won't do it. But when you're faced with starvation and death, it overrides this deep organic superego. So that's one level of superego. And riding along with that, often in our time, there's a superego of deficiency, a feeling that I'm not good enough, a feeling that I'm not lovable, a feeling that I'm not worthy. It's a deep sense, just like this deep sense of revulsion around eating someone. It's not that deep, but it's another level of a subconscious sense of ourselves. This is when the superego is internalized to what's wrong with me, finding defects, finding flaws, finding why I'm not lovable, why I'm not good enough. And this is when the superego becomes dysfunctional. Freud's understanding, and this word superego really comes from Freud. And my first reading of Freud when I was very young, a very simplified version of self, according to Freud, is you have an ego, which is the doer. You have id. Id comes from the German meaning it. And id is what lives in the basement, the dark sexual impulses, the impulses to run wild, to be naked in the streets. That's in the basement. And for Freud, the superego's job is to be the cop at the basement door to keep the id from ever coming out. Of course, that's Freud's projection of his own psyche. But that's where the superego, in the Freudian sense, originates. It's the cop. It's the rule keeper. And so for many of us, this rule keeper, or this cop that lives in our head, has our parents' voice, or for many people it has God's voice. This is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't do. And this is what rules us when it's turned inside, internalized. What's interesting about superego is that society also has a superego. And if you look at the whole gay liberation movement in our culture, it's the rebellion against the society's superego that was imposed by our church. Our religious understanding imposes our superego of sexuality. And if you look at Greece, in the Greek culture, we know it was common and not unusual and totally normal for a man to go and pick up a young boy at the gymnasium, become lovers with him, become his tutor, and help raise him in a certain way. That was normal. So society did not have a superego about that. But our society, because of our religious impositions, had this strong superego of morality, of sexuality, that had to be rebelled against. And that rebellion's been successful now, and the psyche has changed. So that's what we have to do internally, is to see where we are being ruled by a superego that has nothing to do with what's right, nothing to do with love, but rather with some idea of a morality that's been imposed upon us, either from the outside or from our cultural conditioning in some way. And that's what we're here to examine together. How are we being ruled by this inner sense of worthlessness and by this sense of a moral cop in our head saying, this is what you should do or shouldn't do? Those are the levels of superego that I'd like to examine with you. Now, along with this cop in your head, and this is the part where I think a lot of us in the spiritual community now have a spiritual superego. And this spiritual superego is God or the guru talking to you, telling you what you should do or how you weren't spiritual enough or what a spiritual person should do in that situation or what you need to work on or how awake are you, how present are you, how much in the moment are you. This is a spiritual superego. And this is a major slave driver. And it's something I see a lot in our community. People feel this internalized judgment of how to be more spiritual and then try to do it. And in trying to do it, this involves the ego. And the ego itself is the separation between who you are and who you imagine yourself to be. So just now, if you reflect for yourself, And you may start to notice what you thought was just reality is actually an impulse from somewhere else. Like, what questions do you ask yourself about how you should be? What should you do? Just consider for a moment, what should you do? Notice where the answer comes from. What should you do? And notice the answer. How do you know that answer? Do you hear it? Do you feel it in your body somewhere? Where is it originating? And why is that answer? Why did that answer come up? What does it mean? Does it come in a particular voice? Is it your parents' voice or your guru's voice or God's voice? Who says so? Why should you do it? So this is a way to start uncovering for yourself how the superego works in your life, telling you how to be more spiritual, how to be better, telling you what you should do. And the other way that we want to examine is the superego of deficiency. Why are you wrong? Why aren't you enough? Why aren't you lovable? These are questions to ask yourself, to discover. Where does that answer come from? Why are you unlovable? Who says so? Whose voice is it? Is it a voice? Is it a feeling? Is it an emotion? Where does it come from? Trace it back to its source. See if it's true or not. So this is now examining the superego as it's turned inside. Very important, very valuable. When the superego is turned outside, it's the critic. It's the judge that sees what's wrong. Walks into a room and sees what's wrong. Sees who doesn't know, sees who, starts immediately comparing and judging. And this is a negative form of personality. Once, early on, my partner said to me, you have a negative personality. And I just was shocked. I didn't think so. I thought, no, I'm not being, what do you mean? I'm not negative. But tell me, show me the next time I'm negative. And she said, okay. I don't know, an hour passed maybe. And she said, that's negative. I said, that's not negative, that was funny. And I had to examine for myself and to see that what I was calling funny, it was sarcasm. It was a sarcastic put-down that I thought was funny. And that's the way I grew up in the streets of New York. You always had sarcastic put-downs for everyone and everything. It was a way of surviving. And it was a way of being funny. And I would do it in school. I would have sarcastic comments about the teacher from the back of the room. And so I always thought of it as funny, not as negative. But once it was pointed out to me and I could see it, I got it. Oh my God, that's negative. It's actually, there's some anger in it, and there's a put down in it. It's not just funny. And so I decided to make a mark on a page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every time I was negative, or every time I was sarcastic. And it came up maybe half a dozen times the first day. I just noticed it. And it slowly decreased until pretty soon I wasn't keeping track and it wasn't there anymore. It just faded away. Not by fighting with it or forcing it or changing it, just by noticing it. Just by noticing, wow, there's another one. Doesn't mean it's not always here. It can show up or not. But I don't think anybody would say I had a negative personality anymore. At least not in that sense. There might be others. But that one was seen. And so that's what we're here to do together, is to see into ourselves. Not to judge it, not to fix it, not to correct it, because that's just more superego stuff. And not to do anything, because that's more ego stuff, but just to observe it. And in the observation, quite naturally it changes. When it does, if it does, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're conscious. You're present to it. Okay? So what I'd like you to do, perhaps as an experiment over this next period of time, is maybe keep track for yourself. How are you negative? Just keep a pad and paper, and every time you're negative, just make a mark. And you may not notice your negativity at first. A lot of people don't. We don't. We're not trained to see it. Like I know someone who's, whenever I speak to her, she's always telling me, well, that's not right because, well, no, it's too small, it's too big, it's too, and that wouldn't be considered negativity. But it is when you see it. When you see it's always checking for what's wrong and then not seeing what's right and taking it personally. Now, sometimes there are things that are wrong that need to be fixed. No problem. That's not what we're speaking about. It's just, if you walk into a room and you see, those shades are terrible, that's not going to fix it. It's not going to change anything. It just creates a little negative moment for you. So to notice that. Just notice, oh, shades are terrible. You don't have to write that down. You just make a mark. You get, oh, that person's a... Just make a mark. Just notice it. And you'll start to see how many times it happens in a day. Just notice it. And for the internal sense of worthlessness, this also, notice it. Find out, where does it come from? What's it made out of? How do you know it's real? What if you don't take it personally? Because for most of us, our whole identity is built on a story of that worthlessness, that unlovability, that we then either prove or we hide. We either prove that we're unlovable to show that in fact we are and the tragedy of it, or we hide that we're unlovable by performing in some way. And that's functionally useful in a certain level of ego development, to functionally perform as if everything's great and you're acting as if. It's very useful. But now, to go deeper, is to go underneath the act of everything's okay, underneath the act of how good I am, how successful I am, to find what is hidden and unseen. And in discovering that, to then experience it and discover, where is it from? What's it made out of? Who says so? Who says you're unlovable? Who says you're not good enough? Find out. Find out if it's real. And then, when you see it clearly, you see through it, then it loses its grip on you, and you're free of the demon of it. The demon is parading as a god, saying, I know what's right. I know who you are. I know what should be done. You're free of it. When you see it, when you experience it, when you have insight. Without that, it just seems like the atmosphere you're living in. Okay? So that's my talk on superego, or that's my expression of how I see it. That's what came up for me, and I'm curious, since you joined this conversation, how does this relate to you, or what would you like to add, or what questions do you have? Let's make this participatory. Let's add your voice to it. All right, Anya's next. Hello?
Hi, Eli. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. Fantastic. I'm so happy to talk to you, really.
Oh, thank you.
as you talked about the negativity,
Yes.
I suddenly my attention was bound in the sentence that that we talk to other people negative about negativity, and this is what I see on myself, that I'm talking with others, and it's a lot about issues and so on. And what brought up a lot of fear is I'm doing it because of safety. It's like
Yes.
even I would not have to tell it. I'm doing it because I how to say it, to be safe.
Yes.
It's like this is what I think, what they expect.
Yes.
That when I would tell them that I'm just okay, not even okay, but more than that, I really feel a lot of fear, and I do it that I'm not different.
Yes. That's what society superego means. That's how
Yeah,
the culture imposes this rule. And then you feel pressured to follow it. And so
yeah,
this is how early cultures develop the moral code, is by sitting around and gossiping, noticing who's different, what they're doing, and creating a collective agreement about what's right and what's wrong. And so it's inbred into us. Guys, when I'm speaking, I can hear a negative feedback loop in my ear, and I'm not sure if there's any way of fixing that in the audio track, Tom or Jared or whoever's helping on this. So it's a little distracting to hear myself in a distorted way. So, Anya, the society is expecting you to act a certain way, and you act that way out of fear. And in that, you're a slave. This is like people who refuse to express their sexuality because it was wrong, it was bad. They weren't supposed to be homosexual. And so they had to hide it and repress it and act as if the society is right. And so it took an enormous amount of courage to come out of the closet to say, hey, I'm different. My sexuality is different from yours. That took enormous courage. And so now for you, the courage is to not follow the herd. Even though it's expected, to not follow it. To stay true to yourself in spite of what your society says. To stay true to yourself in spite of what your friends expect. Is that possible? Can you do that?
yes,
Yes.
yes, I can do that. It seems that we don't have so much to speak then, you know.
Oh, yes. That'd be a relief.
Yes, that's a huge relief, and then I really don't know what will happen. It's really that I keep something running by talking and avoiding true connection or whatever will happen then.
Yes, that's it. It's a way of avoiding true connection. Is if we talk negatively about others or the environment or what's happening in the world or whatever it is, we say, oh, look at this, look at that. And it's a way of creating a sense of bonding that isn't very deep, that isn't real into your heart. It's just a very superficial way. It's like barnyard noises. It's like the chickens going, I'm here, I'm okay, quack. I'm here, I'm okay, quack, quack, quack. I'm here, I'm okay, quack. I'm safe, I'm okay, quack, quack. And that's what most people do in their negative talk. They're just saying, I'm here, I'm okay, don't hurt me, we're together, we're all one. We agree on this. It's a group trance. It's a form of group hypnosis. And it's scary to wake up from it. Who knows what will happen? You might have real contact. You might have a deep relationship. Or they may all leave. They may not be interested in someone who's not clucking along with them. Who knows? It's unknown, but that unknown is fresh and alive. The negativity, the gossip is never fresh and it's never alive. And it doesn't leave you feeling better. It doesn't leave you enlivened. If anything, it leaves you a little angry or a little bitter or a little self-satisfied. But it's never enlivening. And that's the way you can start to see for yourself. When you're having an interaction, is it enlivening? Is it bringing you, is it fresh? Is it open? Or is it the same old, same old? Is it negative and a downer and righteous indignation and what they should be doing and look at what they did? And you start to notice the effect of it, both for yourself and the people you're with. If it's bringing you down, it's certainly bringing everybody else down. And if it's enlivening you, there's a possibility it enlivens others. And so this is the challenge. It's beautiful. I'm so glad you brought this up. Because the whole society has this ingrained, imprinted morality of what you should do, how you should speak, how you relate. And we're living it unconsciously. And then to wake up from it, it's scary. Suddenly, we don't have guidelines. To sit around and gossip with your girlfriends, everybody knows the rules. Everybody knows how it works. To not have an agenda, to not be negative, it's unknown. Who knows what will happen? But maybe something very positive instead of something negative. Maybe a heart opening instead of a angry self-judgment, angry judgment on others. So that's great. I'm so glad you asked this.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you, dear. Okay, Michael is next. Michael May from Germany.
Hello, Eli.
Yes, hi, Michael. Hello.
Hello. So beautiful to see you now in the computer.
Oh, I'm so glad.
It's good to hear. And
How's the picture?
thank you also for... Sorry?
How's the picture?
Yeah. The picture is really good, but now I have to do the mood
Yes.
mode,
Good.
so I can't see it anymore.
Okay.
But thank you also for your introduction speech, and I want to speak with you about the spiritual ego, superego.
Good.
Because I have a question, and how can I distinguish if I felt in a mental trap of hypocritical thoughts that come from the spiritual superego? Because so often when I read something or I hear you or I hear other spiritual stuff, immediately I try to understand it in my thoughts, in my brain, and after I'm a little bit insecure, if I feel if it's real or is it only a trap of the spiritual superego.
It's all a trap, Michael. It's all a trap.
It's all a trap.
And you know it. That's why you feel insecure about it. I'm just confirming what you already know in your heart. The way you described it, it's so clear, it's so obvious.
So I can't understand nothing in my head.
You can understand lots of things in your head, but you can't grasp the truth. You can't grasp love. There are lots of things you can understand in your head. All kinds of math and philosophy, discussions, whatever it is. There's lots of useful information that you can hold in your head. How to build a house, how to fix your car, how to drive, whatever it is. There are all kinds of useful things for the head, but the head can't understand what's beyond the mind. If it does, it becomes trap. It's only for your heart.
can hear you, but I had this experience of, I also wrote it on Facebook with this illusion, no?
I liked what you wrote. You wrote, "Oh, I'm so scared that it's all an illusion, and if it's all gone, I'll just be left." As if you're not the illusion.
Yeah.
What if you're the illusion also, Michael? What if it's all just you? What if you're the only illusion?
Yeah, that's scary, yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary. And then one part, I feel it, you know. There is understanding, not
Yes.
in my mind,
That's-
and not in my thoughts,
Yes.
where I understand it.
That's right.
know?
I know you do, and that's what's trustworthy. And this is where you have to shift your allegiance from your previous identity to what you already know is true in your heart. So it has nothing to do with what you've read or what you understand. It's what you absolutely know in your heart, but you're afraid of. Because if you stay true to that, you lose your identity as the slave.
Yeah.
And so then you'll see. Then you see, Michael, that you as a Michael are the illusion.
And also you, maybe. Everything, no?
Everything.
I am you.
Whatever
Also
appears.
the spiritual way.
That's right. Everything that appears disappears. Everything that appears disappears. If it appears and disappears, it's an illusion.
So strange, huh? So strange. It's funny and strange.
Yes, it's funny and strange. That's right.
Okay, thank you.
I'm so glad. That's so beautiful. Listen, Michael, you can trust yourself in the deepest way. You can trust your heart. And you're seeing that trying to figure it out in your head doesn't work. You're seeing that it just leaves you, it doesn't leave you satisfied. It leaves you uneasy. And you see also that you already know the deepest wisdom in your heart. You know it's true. So that's so beautiful. Now you can trust yourself.
Thank you so much.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Hillary's next from Australia.
Hi, can you hear me, Eli?
I can, Hillary.
Oh, good, because unfortunately I couldn't see you, but I thought that's fine. I can hear you. That's all I need to know.
Beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad.
So, I found your conversation extremely to my heart.
Yes.
I notice with people I like or I have a liking towards, that when I'm with them, I, like you said, play this game. And this game is like, it's like this Hillary that everybody knows. That Hillary is loud and boisterous and fun to be with and an amazing person. And underneath this, there's this terribly insecure Hillary. And it's like I annihilate or try to annihilate that person in front of the other person. And I know I'm doing it, and I don't know how to stop it.
If you know you're doing it,
So,
you can do it if you want to. See, the thing is, as long as you if you're aware of it, then you have choice.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to. Hillary, there's no problem playing a role. We all play roles.
Yeah.
So you play your roles when you're with your friends. You know?
Yeah.
If you're with a young child, you play a different role. When you're with a little child, you don't say the same things, you don't have the same tone of voice, you don't have the same facial expressions. You play the child. You play to the child. That's your role. If you're talking to your parent, you have a different role. You don't put on your boisterous friend's role. You put on the daughter role. We all have all these different roles. There's nothing wrong with them.
But it's like as though I don't want that person to really know me. That's scary.
Yes, it's scary.
And so I try and annihilate it so that I won't have to face it.
Yes.
So, that's not quite the word I'm looking for. Sabotage it. I try to sabotage a relationship so that I won't have to go any further with it.
Very good. So then you see how that's based in fear. And you're living, so you're living in fear. So then, is it possible to bear is it possible to bear the fear and not act on it?
Yeah.
Then.
Yes, I hope I have that chance just to, when I start to bubble again, bubble, 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 like you did, squawk, squawk. I love that. And not do it, and just see what happens.
Yes.
Yeah, that's scary. It's
yes, it's scary.
Starting a conversation and suddenly just stopping in mid sentence and waiting to see what happens. And
yes.
and then you're not the person that they saw you as.
That's right.
And that's scary.
It is scary. But if you don't call that energy scary, what if you call that energy enlivening? Same energy.
Yeah.
You say, wow, it's enlivening. It's like suddenly I don't know. Who knows what will happen? It's unknown. It's like when
Enlightening?
It's enlivening. It's like when you're surfing, Hillary.
Yeah.
When you're surfing, there's a point where instead of feeling it as fear, you feel it as enlivening.
Yes.
That's it. It's the same thing. So you just surf your relationships.
I like that.
Good.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Thank you, Eli. Yes.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear from you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, Deborah's next. Hey, Deborah.
Hi, Eli.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I do.
Wow, I really appreciate the topic, and I've just been receiving what everyone has realized in speaking with you. I appreciate you pointing out negativity, because my first thought, arrogantly, was actually, I don't have any negative thoughts. And then throughout the call, I've been seeing my negative thoughts. So
Very
thank
good.
you for that.
Good. So when you see them, just make a mark on a page so you see how many marks you get in a day. It's a good experiment. And then have a new day, and then see how many marks you make. And it's really useful because it'll help you get insight into your structure that's running.
Thank you.
Sure.
The other thing, when you said something about going underneath the act of how good I am and looking at who says I'm not good enough,
Yes.
and something really resonated, and I was looking at, okay, where did this thought originate, or this feeling originate of not being good enough? And what came to me was maybe an interaction I had with my mother as a child. And, just like kind of this, just like this criticism, like not even necessarily overt, but like energetically criticizing.
Yes.
And in the moment that I saw it, I also saw how I do that with my daughter. And it was just really like it really actually just shook me, and I felt like I just wanted to expose it, actually, just in, seeing it freshly and recognizing that whatever it is that I'm still holding on to, maybe along the story of not being good enough, that somehow I'm continuing that criticism to her unnecessarily, and I really just want to stop.
Yes. Yes, so important. This is what happens. Our parents' suffering gets passed on to us, and we pass it on to our children, as it's been passed on for countless generations. Your grandparents' suffering, and their parents' suffering, and their parents' suffering, it gets passed on in a chain of suffering. And now that you see it, you can break the chain. Not by fighting with it, not by fixing it, but just by noticing it, being conscious of it. Because, as you said, you've been doing it to your daughter without being even aware of it. It doesn't even have to be verbal. It can be just nonverbal cues, as your mother did with you. But then you see it, you notice it, you just make marks on a page. And pretty soon you'll start to see, oh, and you'll see through it, and it disappears. It really does disappear. Not by fixing it, but just by conscious observing, being there with it. That's so beautiful, Deborah. I'm so glad.
Well, thank you so much for your encouragement on that and just on self-examination in general. Really, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Deborah. Good to hear you. I'm so glad you brought this to us. Because this is something for all of us to really recognize in ourselves, how we pass on the unconscious suffering that was passed on to us. And many people say, well, I'm not going to do what my parents did. I'm going to be the opposite of my parents. And we have that intention. We don't want to pass on the suffering, but somehow it comes through. It comes through because we're not aware of how we're passing it on. We're not aware of our subconscious transmission of what's going on non-verbally. And so when we become aware of what's going on non-verbally, we bring it into awareness, we can name it, we can see it, we can experience it, and we can see through it and not take it personally, not be moved by it. This is what inquiry is. This is what self-examination is. This is how we set ourselves free from all the gods and demons that are running our life. And we stop passing it on to our children. And we stop passing it on to our friends and neighbors when we stop negatively talking. And as one person said, if you stop negatively talking, then what are you going to talk about? Well, who knows? It's open. And as Hillary said, if I'm terrified of this, then what? It's open. And since Hillary's a surfer, I use the metaphor of surfing. Because when you're surfing, if you call it fear, you're going to crash. There may be a point where it's scary, but then it has to move beyond that to where it's a rush, to where you're on the edge, to where you're going with it. It's beyond the fear. But the fear is still there, actually, but it's not being called fear anymore. It's being called energy. It's being called aliveness. It's being called a rush. And so this is it. We just start to notice what we're doing subconsciously to ourselves and to others. And we see through it, and then we can ride it. In riding it, Trungpa Rinpoche called it riding the wind horse. This is the wind horse of liberation. To bring our subconscious movement into awareness so that it doesn't run us, but we ride it. And then we're free. Okay, one more question from Stefan, Germany.
Hi, Eli. Do you hear
Hi.
me?
Yes.
Oh, great to hear you. It's such an inspiring history. I realize how much these, on one hand, is not being good enough, and on the other hand, everything else around me is not good enough in the
Yes.
same way, and how that is interconnected. And that's, I had really nice experience. I did was riding my bicycle in the middle of the city, and it was just a moment where I realized this voice in my head complaining about everything, or about myself and the world around me. And then I realized that it's so empty. It's so doesn't make no sense. And in this moment where I was writing, it was a beautiful night, and it was such a beautiful moment that I just realized no matter what the outer conditions I'm in, or wherever I think I am or how I am, this was such a beautiful moment. And in that moment, there was a star coming down right in front of me. It was so beautiful.
That's it, Stefan. So beautiful. That's it. It's so simple. In each moment, we can see, are we living in a negative bubble? Complaining about the outside, complaining about the inside? Or are we experiencing the bliss of the moment? This gracious possibility of being alive, this rare gift of consciousness incarnate in a body where it can experience being alive and conscious of itself. Oh my God, what a rare, rare gift. And so then we see, are we being negative with ourselves, or are we just allowing the beauty of life to penetrate? And then we don't want this negative conversation anymore about the world or about ourselves. It just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. And it may run for a while, and if you don't fight with it, and you don't try to change it, and you don't fix it, just notice it. Just notice it. Don't take it personally. It has no juice. It evaporates. It's made from emptiness, and it returns to emptiness. Every negative thought, every negative feeling, every negative idea comes from emptiness, is made of emptiness, and returns to emptiness. So when you realize that, man, it can just pass through like traffic. Sometimes there's traffic, sometimes there isn't. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
Beautiful. I'm so glad. Thank you for bringing this into it. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. So this is an experiment. I've never done this particular format before. And I don't know who's watching or who's listening. But if you let us know, give us feedback, what works, what doesn't work. Should we continue or not? Let us know. Let us know if you're participating in this and it's worthwhile for you. And then we'll see where we go from here. I'm so grateful. So grateful for each person who spoke and for everyone who listened and watched. We're part of a gathering of humanity, a call to wake up and be free, to stop this madness in the world, not by blaming it or fighting with it, but by being free of it, by being an example of love, being a living example of the possibility of life. That's your function. Fulfill it, and you're fulfilled. Fulfill your function, and the whole world will celebrate you. Thank you so much for being here. May all beings be free. May all beings be happy. Thank you so much.